Good morning, and thank you for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering the NBA playoff games that happened last night. We'll also be discussing whether the Sooners are SEC ready. We'll also be talking about the 12-team college football playoff, and make sure that you guys stick around for later in the show when we'll be diving into our Thirsty Thursday stories for the week. Before we start, though, I wanted to ask that you guys like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is gsmcpodcast.net. This just puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also really helps the show. Hello, Tate. How are you doing today?
Hello, Miss Faith.
Hello.
You're in all black, which is kind of cool. I like it.
Thank you.
So, are you like anything exciting going on? Fill us in on
Anything exciting. I'm taking my last.
I know we were talking about your finals, but hit me with that. Yes.
I am taking my last final for the semester, and then I only have one more semester after that, and then I finally graduate college.
Okay, wait.
Very
I gotta ask this question without. I don't mean to put all your business out in the streets. How long did it take you?
5.5 years.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
I transferred, so transferring sets you back a little bit. I had already knew that I was going to graduate later than expected, because I went the 12-hour route instead of the 15-hour route, because I do work part-time on top of school, and I did 15 hours one semester, and that is just a lot on top of having a job. So
two stories I was going to tell you on that one. One, I used to date a girl, actually end up getting engaged to her at one point in time. In 4 years, she graduated with 3 degrees and 2 minors in 4 years.
That's not me.
On the opposite side, there was a guy I went to school with, and he was a full-time student, and he was on his 9th year when he stopped. I didn't say he graduated. I said when he stopped.
Yeah. I won't be graduating with 3 degrees, but I will be graduating with a degree in journalism, with a minor in sociology, and a certificate in news literacy. So I do got some stuff stacked up.
That's my girl. That's what you're supposed to have. You know, just don't go 9 years and then be like, I give up. I'm done.
People ask me if I'm going to do masters after this, and I was like, not right now. No, maybe in a few years. I definitely need a break from college, because I feel like I've been in school for forever, because I started college right out of high school. So I've been in school for 18, 19 years.
See, it's weird when you start talking about that. I always feel, I don't have any evidence on this one, but just my vibe and what I've seen from people is, if you don't go get your master's right away, you never get it. All the people that I talk to, not saying you're your own person, but all the people that said, you know what, I'm going to take a couple years off and then go back to get their master's, never got their master's unless they were school teachers.
Well, it's not that I want a master's degree, but if it's in the cards, that won't happen until probably a couple years after I've already graduated. So,
if you don't do the master, like some of those new master programs where it's like, it's not a master's program, it's a doctorate program where you do your master's and doctorate all at the same time, accelerated. I'm like, I wish they had those back when I was in school.
Well, you can do that where I go to school at with your bachelor's. You can double up and do your bachelor's and your master's all at the same time, and it adds like an extra year.
See, I wish we'd had that. See, I didn't have that.
I'm not doing that.
I went back in the day. So no, we did not have that. Man, I think that part's amazing there.
It's not something I decided to do.
Yeah, let's talk about some stuff that pertained to me. I did not do that, okay? So, all right,
Yeah.
we have some interesting things to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
So, I am intrigued on some of our topics.
Yeah, okay.
Also, Thursdays kind of
Yeah, we
can
got
be
some
kind of fun as well.
we got
Last week's
I think I got some good ones for this week.
on
So,
par with last week's Thursday.
I don't know if it's on par. Might be a little lower, but it is some good funny drinking stories, so
All right, I'm loving it already. Let's roll.
okay, so for our first segment, we're going to be covering the NBA playoff games that happened last night. So our first story comes from Yahoo Sports. The Celtics cruised to blow out a win over the Heat in Game 5 to reach the Eastern Conference semifinals. So ever since falling in Game 2, the Boston Celtics have seemed unstoppable. The Celtics cruised to a third straight blowout win over the Miami Heat on Wednesday night to close out their opening round playoff series at TD Garden. The Celtics, after nearly grabbing a 20-point lead after the first quarter, rolled to a 118-84 win in Game 5 of their series with the Heat. That punched Boston's ticket into the Eastern Conference semifinals for the seventh time in the past 8 seasons. The Celtics took off immediately Wednesday and essentially ended the game after the first 12 minutes. They hit 8 three-pointers in the first period and shot 14 of 21 from the field to grab an 18-point lead at the first break. Derrick White had 15 of his 25 points in the first quarter. The Celtics opened the second quarter on a 14-12 burst, capped by a huge Jaylen Brown three-pointer to take a 30-point lead. Though the Heat bounced back a little bit before halftime, they still entered the locker room down by 22 points. By then, the game was over. The Celtics pushed their lead back to 30 points in the third quarter and then simply held on to grab the 34-point win. The Celtics won all 4 games this series by double digits and won by an average of 22 points per contest.
Okay. Your synopsis of the game. I'm just looking at my notes and I'm like, she said that, she says that. I'm like, you took all my notes.
I'm more of the announcer, you're more of the analyst. So, analyze everything I just said.
Normally, you take a few things. I've never had a moment where you took everything in my notes, and I'm like, oh hell.
Well, I have some other
Okay.
stats too, if that messes you up.
No. Well, I can work without a net, but Miami, who has always they always rise to the occasion when it comes to the playoffs, and they always make noise in the playoffs. It is weird to see Miami just go out with a whimper.
Mm.
I mean, it was a thorough beatdown, averaging 22 points per game on victory.
Mm.
And that's with Kristaps Porzingis with a calf strain not really being a major factor in this series. And the Celtics have just dominated. The Celtics are playing, they're peaking at the right time. The Celtics look good. When I look at the Celtics, I look and I say, that's the best team in the East. And I don't think it's close.
Mm.
When you look at what's going on, and I'm not used to seeing Miami just kind of go out with a whimper. But they didn't really do much. It was just kind of like the Celtics were just better everywhere for them. I mean, and it's just kind of shocking how dominant of a performance that the Celtics had performed. Bam Adebayo had 23 points. Tyler Hero, did not. He struggled this whole series, shooting 1 for 8 in the game. It was just not a good series. And so then you say, okay, the Miami Heat season is over. And you say, okay, what can the Miami Heat do next year to make them a contender? And right now, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying absolutely nothing. when you look at Miami and you say, okay, you start looking at the team, and then I realized they have 5 players that are right around $20 million or more. Jimmy Butler's contract next year is 48.8. Bam Adebayo, 34.8 million. Tyler Hero, 29 million. Terry Rozier, 19.4. Duncan Robinson, 24.9. Totaling just five players, 156.9, so almost $157 million are headed to the cap space. So there's absolutely no room to improve this team without gutting your core. You're going to either have to package some of these guys up and trade them away to bring something else back in, or you're going to have to run back with what you have. This team is very top heavy. So to add depth and things of that nature, it's going to be a very tough go for the Miami Heat. So that is the thing. Seeing them go out, like I said, with a whimper, and then looking at their cap situation and the contracts that they have on the books, next year does not seem like they can improve. Mm-hmm. They're already they already made into the play-in game, but to actually make a serious run at an NBA championship and a run at the playoffs, they need to add more pieces, and they just don't have the cap room to do it. Now, when he's talking about the Celtics are ready to make a run. They're the best team in the East. They're my favorites to come out of the East. I'm looking at it right now after seeing everyone. The Celtics are coming out of the East. I got Denver coming out of the West, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Minnesota and New Orleans can do. Not New Orleans, sorry, OKC can do as well. So I'm very curious about that. So, but we'll move on from there. Let's give me a little something about that next game.
Yeah, so this story comes from MavsMoneyball.com. So we had the Dallas Mavericks wreck the Los Angeles Clippers 123-93. So the Dallas Mavericks handed the Los Angeles Clippers their worst playoff defeat in franchise history, throttling them 123-93. Luka Doncic, okay, played off had a fantastic performance, scoring 35, dishing 10 assists, and grabbing 7 rebounds. Paul George and Zubac led the Clippers with 15 each. Kyrie Irving started the party for Dallas with an early lefty bank shot, followed by a crisp assist to PJ Washington for a dunk. Scoring came easily for both teams despite stout defense, with the Mavericks leading 10-9 around the 8:30 mark. Zubac got it done early for Los Angeles, scoring 8 in the period. The teams exchanged buckets throughout the quarter, and with Dallas getting 5 dunks while the Clippers buried 3 threes. Dallas took a 25-24 lead in the second period. Dallas continued to play with the pace in the second quarter, with forays into the painted followed by good-looking threes. Maxi Keebler connected on 3 threes in the first half of the quarter to help extend the Dallas lead. The Clippers answered with repeated drives and tough baskets, which slowly worked them back into the game. Dallas maintained their lead by getting into sets early and getting great looks or drawing fouls. Daniel Gafford flushed a 40-foot alley-oop from Ivering to give Dallas their first double-digit lead. The Mavericks led at half, 56-46. Los Angeles came out of the half a bit rusty, committing 3 turnovers. Dallas didn't look much sharper. They maintained the lead early in the frame. Ivering brought the Mavericks bench to their feet with an electric and 1 layup following a pickpocket of Harden to give Dallas a 12-point lead. Doncic followed that with a mid-range jumper, forcing a Clipper timeout. Strong Mavericks defense left the Clippers looking discombobulated. Doncic took advantage, driving every possession, connecting in the lane, and getting into the lane. A wild transition played between Ivering and Doncic was broken up by the Westbrook, but finished by Jones Jr., who flew down the lane for an N1 dunk, but finished... Oh, sorry. The Dallas led.
Actually, you paused so perfectly. I thought your screen froze.
No, sorry. The Dallas led group to 25 before a Clipper run cut the lead to 16. Josh Green's 4 points played off a made corner three swallowed the Los Angeles momentum. Dallas led 89-69 heading into the final frame. And then so on.
You paused so perfectly. I almost said, "Oh crap."
No. I read it wrong.
Whoa, but your whole body, you just like, you were looking and I'm like, oh shoot, Faith has had some internet issues in the past. So that's what popped in my head for a split second.
No.
Now see, this one, you left a little meat on the bones for me here. So I got things I can talk about on this one. First off, okay, let's talk about Luka and the Mavs. I mean, they came out. Forget it. Let me change it. Luka, if you said, okay, Luka has a knee sprain and an upper respiratory illness going into this game, you would not be, you hear that, you don't think like, oh, Luka's gonna go off. Knee sprain, upper respiratory illness, mere bag of shells. Luka, 35, 7, and 10. 14 to 26 shooting. Luka was on fire, beat them down. This was not a competitive game at all. Biggest Clipper blowout in recent history. No, and then that's in playoff history for them. Luka and Kyrie really didn't do a lot, but he didn't have to. The Mavs just completely outplayed them. Defensively, Dallas was just locking down the Clippers. The Clippers had no answer for the Mavs defense. The weird thing is, I don't normally think of Dallas as a defensive team. But since March, they've been the best defensive team in the NBA and has mounted the second best record in the NBA, showing that they're. I mean, I don't know what it is. You think about European players and things of that nature. You say Luka, Kyrie. You don't think defense, but the Mavs are playing serious defense, which is causing all kind of problems. And talk about problems, the Clippers have them in a major way. Without Kawhi Leonard, they're a shell of themselves. You can't say, if you look around and you say, future Hall of Famer Kawhi Leonard, future Hall of Famer Paul George, future Hall of Famer James Harden, future Hall of Famer Russell Westbrook. You don't look at that roster and say they're going to get beat down with the worst playoff loss in team history. But it's the same thing every year. Injuries affect the Clippers, and it costs them a chance at making a run. Same year every year. Paul George has a poor performance. I don't get where that whole playoff P. I think that's a joke. Again, another poor performance. And then James Harden. How many playoff series over the years is James Harden's going to come up incredibly small? Again, one after another, year after year. When going back and looking at it, I'm going back to Harden. Let me pull up his numbers. James Harden, the beard, the guy that had a 60-point triple-double in an incredibly important game got you 7 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds. Like a triple single. He did in a critical playoff game. James Harden came up incredibly small. When you look around and you say, Paul George, knowing Kawhi Leonard is out, you need a big game from him. 15 points. That's just not acceptable. And then Westbrook, only 6 points. These are your Hall of Famers. When you're saying a grand total between your Hall of Fame players, you had 28 points from Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, 8 for 36 shooting with 11 assists and 8 turnovers just from those guys. That is absolutely unacceptable. You can't have these type of games when you have these high profile of a player. You know what I mean? If you have a team with 4 Hall of Famers on it, you don't expect to have a collapse like this and a collapse in the fourth quarter. I mean, and that was definitely disappointing. As I talked about his history, James Harden's history, Paul George didn't do well. Kawhi Leonard out. I'm not shocked. I'm going to say this. I think the Mavs close them out. I think this is the last game in the Crypto.com arena. They're going to be moving to their new arena, limping into their new arena. I wasn't impressed by the Clippers at all. This experiment of putting all these super teams together with 3 and 4, Hall of Famers have been a flat out dud. You look at what happened with the Phoenix Sun, monumental collapse. You look at what's going on with the Clippers, worst loss in playoff history.
Yeah, a 30 point difference. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean you look at this and you say, even with Kawhi Leonard out, they have Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. You don't expect this kind of an outcome, but this is what you ended up with.
Yeah.
It's flat out disappointing. It's disappointing. Moving into the new arena, I know that they're moving into this big, amazing arena, but I think this whole Clipper experiment has been a failure. I know the series isn't over yet, and you could have a big game, run back-to-back big games, and pull this series out. I don't expect that to happen. If it doesn't happen, I truly think the Clippers should start thinking about maybe doing something different. This has been a monumental failure. So I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, with that, we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about whether the Sooners are SEC ready or not. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing the NBA playoff games that happened last night, and now we're going to be talking about whether the Sooners are SEC ready or not. But before we do that, I just wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from the viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. That link is gsmcpodcast.net. Let's just put your question at the top of the list so I can see it, and it also really helps the show.
Excellent. Okay. I thought we were talking about that my shirt looks like a cow.
Yeah. Tate sent me a message during the break. He was like, my shirt looks like a cow. I was like, yeah, I was actually gonna say that earlier. It looks like you're wearing a cowhide.
Yeah, it's summertime and I'm sporting a cowhide. Here's the weird thing about this shirt. In the front, it's a unique shirt. I like the shirt, but on the front it looks like a cowhide.
Yeah.
But behind it in the back, it's like a Chinese building. So I don't quite understand. I don't understand the designer that did these shirts.
Yeah.
They're great shirts. They're silk designer shirts. But it's like instead of
He just had to
like I
drop
said-
that real quick. He's wearing silk designer shirts.
wow.
He's like, I'm just gonna put that out there for everybody. I'm wearing a silk designer shirt.
Wow, babe.
You gotta let the world know.
Wow. See, I was not prepared for the right-left combination that you were going to throw at me on that one.
I'm feisty this morning.
Man, you ate your Wheaties this morning, apparently.
Oh, gosh.
I forgot what I was even going to say on that one now. So we're going to move on to something other than my cow design shirt, which it's not cow. I don't understand the design, but
yeah, from here it looks like definitely a cowhide.
it's
though.
cowhide in the front, Asian building in the back. Let's see if I can. So, yeah.
Oh, see, now it doesn't really look like, you can see that it's more of like paint splatter. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little.
It's not cowhide design. But from where you're sitting, that's what it looks like. Got a real Western vibe going today.
I didn't think I'd have to model my shirt, but then Faith hit me with a couple hard body blows.
We humble ourselves on this show.
Since we're talking about cows and being on the range, let's talk about those Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, so are the Sooners SEC ready? This story comes from selloutcrowd.com, and they state the Sooners aren't SEC ready in the interior as the historic 2024 approaches. For 3 years, the chronic question about OU football has been this: are the Sooners SEC ready? 34 months ago, OU announced its eventual move to the Southeastern Conference, and since then, the focus on the SEC has been the forefront of all things Sooner. It's possible that OU took its eye off the ball. The Sooners are 17-10 in Big 12 play these last 3 seasons and have not so much as made it to Arlington for the conference championship game after winning 6 straight league titles. A relevant question any of those years would have been, are the Sooners Big 12 ready? But it's understandable that SEC is Canaan, the land of milk and honey, and the Sooners are ready to get out of Goshen. It all comes with great excitement, but much concern. Are the Sooners SEC ready? That question has gone from chronic to acute. OU's next conference game is against Tennessee. OU's next true road game is at Auburn. To quote the great George Allen, when he jumped from coaching the Los Angeles Rams to coaching the Over-the-Hill gang in Washington, the future is now. And to answer the question at hand, are the Sooners ready for the SEC? Of course not. They were, but they aren't now. In 2017, the team that Bob Stoops built and Lincoln Riley inherited, the Sooners had a roster that would have terrorized most of the SEC. Though you played Georgia in the national semifinal Rose Bowl, the Sooners took a bid lead. Georgia rallied. The game went to double overtime, and the Bulldogs prevailed. Yeah. 58-48. That Georgia team then lost to Alabama in overtime national championship game. OU was the equal of Georgia, which was the equal of Alabama. 7 years later, the Sooners are not the equal of the Bulldogs or the Crimson Tide, or perhaps even more of the SEC. Early predictions have the OU slotted in the middle of the conference, 6th by College Football News, 9th by 247 Sports, 8th by Athlon.
Okay. I'm making my own story with this one.
Go right ahead.
You read that for no reason at all. Just joking.
Did all that work for nothing?
My question is Oklahoma about to become Nebraska? That's my question. And what I mean by it's the same question. Just phrased a little differently. Is Oklahoma SEC ready? Was Nebraska Big Ten ready? Nebraska was a college football powerhouse. They were winning national championships. They were always in the national championship picture, going to major bowl after major bowl. They left the Big 12, went to the Big 10, and then they went into the witness protection program. You haven't thought about Nebraska and national championship, Nebraska and a major bowl since.
I didn't know anything about Nebraska football. So.
Oh, Nebraska football used to be unreal. But now, the question is, will Oklahoma become the new Nebraska? That's the concern, that they're going to go to a different conference where the competition is a lot stiffer. And are they going to be the team that the difference between a national championship contending team and a team in middle of the road sometimes is just one or two plays. You could go through, like last year, let's use Georgia as an example. In your heart of hearts, do you think Georgia could have contended for their national championship last year?
Yeah.
Okay. But they didn't even make the playoffs because they slipped up one time.
One game.
You know what I mean? One game they slipped up and they're not contending for that national championship.
Right.
Well, when you go and you now have to play Texas, you got to play Georgia, you got to play Alabama, you got to play Auburn and LSU and Florida and South Carolina and Ole Miss. Now you slip on a banana peel 2 or 3 times in a year, you're in the middle of the pack. Yeah. You're out of the national championship picture. It's easy for that to happen. You have one real loss and 2 or 3 games that you should have won, but you didn't win. Coaches get fired for that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about with Oklahoma. Oklahoma, there's going to be one of these teams are going to be the new Nebraska. And I look at it as Georgia and Texas are going to be the cream of the crop. They're going to be at the top. Okay. So Alabama, I feel like Alabama's going to come back to the pack. Losing Nick Saban is an issue.
Yeah.
So when you look around and you say you have Alabama, you have Ole Miss, who has been killing it in the transfer portal. I feel like Ole Miss is on the way up. Alabama's sliding. But then where did you put the Oklahomas and the Oklahomas, the LSUs, Florida is dead men walking right now. The South Carolinas, those guys could easily slide to the middle of the pack teams. That is not something that Oklahoma is used to doing. Oklahoma is used to contending for national championships or bust. Mm-hmm. You can easily have a situation. In my opinion, Georgia and Texas are the cream of the crop of the SEC now, with Alabama out. So it's going to be that much harder to win the SEC. Now, here is the good news for a team like LSU and Oklahoma. They're no longer going to a BCS model where there's only 2 teams that make it to the playoff, or the old college football model where there's 4 teams that make the playoff. There's now 16 teams. Sorry, there's 12 teams. Got a little ahead of. We've been talking so much this conference realignment thing that I'm over here automatically putting 16 teams in. But now you have a 12-team playoff. A team can lose 1 or 2 games and still make the playoffs, but you can't lose 3 and 4 games.
Right.
And when you look at the schedule and who you're playing every year, mm-hmm. it's gonna be hard to come out of that SEC. That's the reason why the SEC keeps fighting for, hey, we want 2 at-large bids. When you look around and you're the Big Ten and you're like, we got Oregon, we got Washington, we got Ohio State, we have Michigan, we have Penn State, we have Iowa. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You start thinking about these schools, and it's like, oh, forgot about Washington as well. And when you start looking at everyone that's in these 2 conferences, it's going to be hard to make it through unscathed.
Yeah.
I see a scenario where the Big Ten and the SEC has a situation where their teams are dropping games because they're beating up on each other. Mm-hmm. And you look around and you say the big issue is, one, is Oklahoma SEC ready? Are the Big Ten and the SEC prepared for the future of college football? When you look around and you say, let's say the Big 12 champion is undefeated. All right. And let's say second place in the Big 12, they have a 1 loss. You have, let's say a Florida State goes undefeated, and let's say a 1-loss Clemson. And then you start filling out the rest of those brackets. Rest of the bracket, and you're looking around at the SEC, and you're like, oh, Alabama beat Georgia, but Georgia beat Tennessee. Tennessee beat Ole Miss. Oklahoma beat this one. You could look around and you could see something in the SEC where you have a group of teams with 2 and 3 losses trying to get into the playoffs. How is that? That's what I worry about with the SEC and the Big Ten, with them adding UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington, and the SEC adding the Texas and Oklahomas of the world. These conferences are going to be, it's going to be like a meat grinder. You can't, if you think about it, Faith, the SEC, it's always been a tough one to get through, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Every year it's so hard to get through. And now you just added Oklahoma and Texas to the mix. So the hardest conference in the world to get through, you just added in Freddie Cougar and Jason. Into, you know what I mean? So it's just all killers. Somebody's gonna die. If you're walking a room of all killers, somebody's going to die. And will that be Oklahoma? That's the question are they ready for what they're about to get into? You can be in the Big 12 and you're like, okay, we got Iowa State this week. We got Baylor next week, Texas Tech. Then we have the Kansas Jayhawks. That's not the same as I got Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, LSU in a row. You understand? That's why this question is Oklahoma SEC ready? You better be, because it's here. It's here. And they're coming off of maybe not their strongest team. It could get ugly for them. Yeah. So that's my take. You being an SEC lady, woman, expert. What's your?
Not expert.
You understand? Where,
not expert.
Aficionado.
But, you gotta gear up coming in the SEC, especially now. The SEC is a scary place to be right now.
It is. People don't realize the Big Ten. This is one of the things why I think the Big Ten and the SEC are looking at things and saying, we need to set things up. It's not equal anymore. When we look at our teams and what they have to, the gauntlet they have to go through to make it to the playoffs now, and you look around and you're looking at the ACC and you're like, hey, you're Florida State and you got Pittsburgh and Louisville and Boston College to play. You know, you're looking at it and you're saying, wait a minute, some of our schools could take a big hit and get left out of this playoffs. We want some guarantees. And that's why they're fighting so hard. The Big Ten and the SEC are fighting so hard to make sure that they have some guaranteed spots in there, because it could get ugly fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Well, we've run out of time for this segment. Do you want to move our college football playoff story to our next segment?
Oh, that's funny. I forgot we had that section. No, we're gonna take that story.
Okay.
We're gonna put it back in the case. We may talk about that. We may talk about that tomorrow. We got other things to cover.
Okay. Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into our Thirsty Thursday stories of the week. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about whether the Sooners are SEC ready or not, and now we're going to be diving into our Thirsty Thursday stories of the week. Got some good ones. Not as good as...
I was thirsty. I just took a swig of my drink over here.
Water.
No, actually, it's a Crystal Light knockoff. I love Crystal Light.
Wow.
I like Crystal Light. I like non-sugary drinks, but I don't like a lot of caffeinated or like sodas. Here, it is like America. You have so many choices. That's the thing. You have everything you have there, just not as many choices. You go there, it's like you have Coke, I mean, you have Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, Coke Zero, Diet Mountain Dew, Diet Sprite, everything like that. You go somewhere and you're like, hey, I want a diet drink. It's like you got Diet Coke or Coke Zero and Pepsi Max. And maybe Fanta Zero.
As long as they have Diet Coke. I love Diet Coke.
When I was in the US, I was a Diet Mountain Dew man.
I hate Mountain Dew.
Girl, come on.
I hate it.
You know what?
It's so sugary.
You know what? I understand what you're saying now. Because Diet Mountain Dew was the nectar of the gods to me. And then we decided to see other people when I moved to Europe. You don't have Diet Mountain Dew here because it got that yellow 5 and all that stuff in there. You can't get that here. You can't get that here. That's banned. So I went back to the US, and the minute I landed in the US, I was in New York, and I'm like, beeline, I'm getting me a Dew. I popped that bad boy open, turned it up, and I'm like, what is this crap?
Yeah, it's not good.
I used to love Mountain Dew.
Well,
I'm gonna keep it. Go ahead.
What's funny is I used to love Coke, like regular Coke, and then I had it one day and I was like, this is like not as good as I remember. And then I had a Diet Coke and I was like, oh, this is where it's at. I love me some Diet Coke.
Faith, I actually had the same issue last night, a similar issue where I'm used to things I used to love, I no longer love. And in in Europe, chocolate tastes different than they do in America.
Right.
And girl, I've gotten used to this European chocolate, which is, I'm sorry, European chocolate is here. American chocolate is down here. And that's the one thing. Most things, I'm the opposite. I like my American stuff way more than my European stuff, but chocolate's not one of them.
Didn't you say Europeans said that American chocolate tastes like throw up? Isn't that what you told me?
Yes, a lot of people, a lot of Brits. Girl, you can choke a Brit off just giving them some American chocolate. They'll be like, oh, what is this? Their face goes on.
Get this away from me.
they think it's disgusting.
That's so funny.
But yesterday, we went to the store and they had chocolate, and it was just like, it was chocolate, like American style chocolate. And I've been knocking out that European chocolate now. And so I had some and I was like, this sucks. I didn't think it was gross, but it was very disappointing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just kind of like, oh, I could totally, I don't need this at all.
Yeah.
So disappointed in American chocolate. I can't go back home and eat American chocolate, and Mountain Dew isn't the same. But McDonald's, love me some McDonald's, still in America.
Love McDonald's.
And I'm a crunchy Cheeto man. I can't get crunchy Cheetos here.
I like the Cheeto Puffs. I have to be in a mood to want the crunchy Cheetos.
Puffs aren't, you can get the Puffs all day here. The crunchy ones, the ones I'm talking about?
The original, yeah.
Yes, you can't get those here. That gets me a little upset. And then I like European Burger King way better than American Burger King. So I admit, I went on a food tangent. It's about lunchtime.
Right. Yeah, Tate's hungry. Can you tell? Okay, well, let's dive into our first Thirsty Thursday story. As always, these stories are from Reddit, so you guys, if you want, you can find them. I think I got them on, let's see what subreddit I got them on. Ask Reddit subreddit. So okay, so this is a doozy. It's a little long. All right. All right.
I like doozies. That's already getting brother fired up here.
So this story is about 40% my memory of the night and 60% other people telling me what happened, as it is a custom for good drunk stories. In college, my friend and I got invited to this girl's, Lacey's for the story, 21st birthday party. It was at this huge house that was bought by her Scrooge McDuck of a father and was shared with 4 other girls. It always seemed like Lacey. Oh gosh, Tate just switched the camera. Okay. It always seemed like Lacey had a bit of a crush on me, so I saw this as an opportune time to try and get some time with her. That's how I'm gonna put that.
Oh, I want to see, what did he say? What did he say? What can I get a little sample of what he said? Or
he said opportune time for some boinking, but I was trying to put it
he was trying to get in where he fit in. I got you. Okay,
yes,
okay. Sorry about that.
Anyways, we get to the party and are bombarded with shots of the girl's drink of choice that night, Fireball. Whew. Down the hatch. 1 shot, 2 shot, 8. After making it through the gauntlet of shots and countless drinking games, I'm probably schwasty pants. I've been talking to Lacey for a bit and things are going pretty good when I get the feeling. I excuse myself and casually walk up to my buddy Seth and in the most calm manner tell him, "Follow me." Without explanation, I walk out to the backyard and just begin exercising the alcohol demons from my stomach all over their yard. Seth is standing on the back porch, laughing his butt off, and decides to start filming. The video is me just walking around the backyard, casually talking about how Lacey and I would be a great couple and hurling every 5 feet or so. After a while, I decided to head back to the party and try to talk to Lacey again. Can't find her. Start talking to one of her roommates, Josie, we'll say, and about how I think Lacey and I might be good together. She starts feeding me more shots. Then my stomach decides it's not done. It's not done with me. I tell Josie that I'm going to puke again and ran outside, this time the front yard. I take off running, not wanting to puke in front of everyone, and collapse in a random yard and let myself go. After a few disgusting minutes, I look up to see an old lady sitting on her porch, smoking and watching me violate her yard. I say, "Shmari," and try to get up and walk again, but collapse and decide to crawl. I decide I'm going to crawl back home and start the journey. All of a sudden, Josie catches up with me and has brought me a huge bottle of water. We sit on the curb for a while. I puke a few more times, drink lots of water, and am finally able to stand up and walk. Josie decides she's going to walk home with me, and that's when I pretty much black out. I do remember 2 things from the rest of the night. Me telling her I once had an allergic reaction to brownies, and then sexy times with her back at my house. Blacked. The next morning, I wake up in my bed half wearing my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle onesie, a half-eaten pizza in my bed, what looks like spilt Kool-Aid in my bed, and a naked Josie next to me. When she woke up, I asked the usual what happened last night. She told me that when we were walking home, I told her I needed to grab some things in Walmart and proceeded to casually purchase a DiGiorno's pizza, the movie E.T., and contraceptives. She then said that when we got home, the first thing I did was put on my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle onesie and make the pizza. She said after that it was kind of a blur, and then we were in bed. We ate the rest of the pizza that morning and watched E.T.
Okay, all right. So I was waiting on a punchline to kick in there. That just sounds like he had a fun weekend.
That just sounds like a regular Friday night to me.
that sounds like my man let things go. I was kind of worried. I'm gonna keep it real as you're telling the story, and he was trying to figure out where his girl was. I was kind of worried she was up in a room with somebody else. That's what I was waiting on the hammer to drop. So you just splash yourself.
Excuse me, I just spilled water on my face.
Faithin got baptized up in here.
The Lord was like, "You're telling too many bad drinking stories."
Faithin seen the light over here or something. She got baptized by her own drink and everything. Exercise those demons. You be gone.
Anyway.
Okay. So, kind of funny. if you're living next door and you see some dude fall into your yard and then puke and then crawl away like a demon or something,
Yeah.
what are you thinking? They're like,
I mean, I would know what was happening. I've
course.
been there, done that.
that's the thing. As a guy who lived in a fraternity house, as a guy who went to college, you see these stories all the time. I have never, I'm the weird guy that throws these parties
Mm-hmm.
and have never had a drink in his life.
Yeah.
Not once. Not a sip of champagne, not a shot, not a beer, none of it. But I have dished out. I've thrown parties where I rented a keg truck. Do you understand? In college, yes.
Good Lord. A keg
Yes.
truck, not just a keg.
Not
just
a
a keg. A
The
keg,
keg truck.
truck.
You have 24. You can have 24 kegs on a keg truck.
Ugh.
Yes. But I have never done this. I've never gotten drunk. I've never done any of those things. I'm the guy that throws those kind of parties, not partake of anything else. Which doesn't that sound a little weird or odd in a way?
It does a little bit, yeah.
And I'm the guy like because most people that don't drink, they're always the ones that are like the haters. They're the ones that's like, oh, you're a bad person because you drink. I'm not that guy. I'm like, hey, we got some Fireball
I think it
over here.
depends
We
on
got
the person.
Rumpleman's over here. Tequila's over here, and the beer truck's in the back. Go for it. What are you
sounds
gonna say? Go ahead.
That sounds like a night I would never remember. Rumplemans and Fireball. Ugh. Blech.
They're kind of like cousins, though, aren't they?
Rumplemans and Fireball? No.
They're like cousins. They're like,
Rumplemans is like peppermint schnapps, and Fireball is like Big Red, but an alcoholic beverage.
yeah,
You
it's
had
like
Big
those
Red
little,
gum.
Yes,
They're
no,
not
I get you.
cousins.
Big Red gum and cinnamon gum, they're cousins. They're not brother and sister. I'm not saying they're brother and sister. But they're
Rumplemans isn't
definitely-
cinnamon though. It's not cinnamon. It's peppermint.
Right. But cinnamon, peppermint,
No,
they're cousins.
they're not in the same.
I'm not saying, like, I put those in the same category. So Rumplemans and Fireball in this corner, and then I got tequila over here, where in the corner over there with Jack Daniels and that stuff. That's
Tequila
the
and
difference.
Jack Daniels?
No,
Good
I'm not
Lord.
I'm not mixing them together. I'm just saying they're in different categories.
But you're saying they're in the same category. They are
They're
not in the same.
cousins. They're cousins. They're
No,
not brother and
No,
sister.
no.
You got the spicy corner over here is Rumplemans and Fireball.
Tate,
and then
you have
your
never
standard
had it.
liquors.
You have never had a sip of alcohol in your life. You cannot say that any of those are
I am
cousins.
sticking to my gun. They're cousins.
No, they're
They're not brother and sisters or two twin brothers.
they're not even in the same family tree, Tate.
They're not in the same. Like bourbon, tequila. That's the brown liquor category. Well, tequila's kind of, put the brown liquors. Brown liquors are brothers and sisters, and then you have the clear liquors.
Not all
they're
tequila
cousins.
Not all tequila is brown though. There is clear tequila.
Right. There's some clear too. That's why I said they're cousins. They're not. I didn't say they're brother and sister. They're cousins.
Keep the
Fireball
brown
is a-
liquor away from the clear liquor. Let me just tell you that for anybody listening that has not had a sip of alcohol yet but plans to eventually in their life, do not, and I repeat, do not mix clear and brown liquor. You will hate yourself for a week.
I just want y'all drinkers out there to get my back on here by saying, I'm not saying that Rumplemans and Fireball are brother and sisters. I'm just saying they're from the same family line. They're cousins. You know how you got that cousin from Missouri that's just a little different than everybody else, but y'all related. You understand how y'all related?
No.
That's all I'm getting at.
No. I'm going to disagree with you on that. I've had both, and I'm going to disagree with you on that.
This segment is no longer going to be called the story about the guy getting drunk. This is the argument about Tate and Faith on is Rumpelmans and Fireball related? Because I say they are. This is what I want. This is what I want this topic to be, because I want somebody out there to defend me. Yes, I'm more studying from the lab. I haven't really partaken of the fruit. Let's just say
you can't say anything if you haven't partaken in the fruits.
That's how much booze I have served up in my lifetime that I can fight with you about what category booze.
I don't think you can, because you've never had any. Until you have a drop of liquor, you can't argue with me on
Listen.
that.
I don't need to try heroin to know it's bad for me, okay?
That is not even in the same...
I don't need to tell... If someone came to me and said, listen, Tate, you can't tell me that heroin's bad for me because you've never had it. Yes, I can. Yes,
That's different. That's different. That's different. Okay.
Boy, did this just go off the deep end here?
Yeah, it did. Well, with that, guys, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll have another Thirsty Thursday story. Maybe, hopefully, we'll stay on topic. If not, who cares?
Okay,
all right.
Done.
We'll see you in a minute, guys.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing or talking about Thirsty Thursday stories of the week, except we weren't really talking about the story at all. But now we have another story for you guys, and hopefully we will stay on topic this time, maybe.
I can't promise anything.
We'll see where the wind takes us. Alrighty, so I picked this one because it was... they were in Portugal at the time, and I figured since Tate lives in Portugal, you know, we'd have a Portugal story.
I love me some Portugal. I must admit, love living here.
Alrighty, so it's my first lad's holiday ever, and I'm 17, and we've gone off to Portugal for the week. Now, us being poor young kids, we saw we could save about a tenner flying out on Thursday rather than Friday, so we did that, knowing full well we couldn't get into our room accommodation until the following day. We were cocky, though, and thought we could just stay out all night, maybe crash on the beach for fun or whatever. Anyway, skip to the night, we get in, and we go out on the lash, getting battered. My mate paid for our travel insurance, so everyone owed him €6, which he kept reminding us of. At some point in the night, I flicked my cigarette and it ended up in his beer, so now I owed him €6 and a beer. The night goes on, and we end up around 1 a.m. going to a shop and buying some more bottles of wine to go to a beach party. Headed down there, and 8 of the lads get in, but they won't let me and my mate in because we have glass bottles. They're all gone, so we're like, whatever. We'll just wander around Portugal and see what's going on. We stumble around drinking out wine, walk about 3 miles away from the beach, middle of absolute nowhere. think about sleeping in a bus stop, but there were these mangy dogs out there. My mate started yelling at them, "Stupid dogs, this is my house, Kimosabi." And then this Dalmatian-looking dog starts walking and growling towards us, so we leg it. We eventually stumble across the villa resort of sorts, so we jump the fence to the pool and find a couple of deck chairs and snuggle on down to a nice sleep. Wake up an hour later to this lovely lady putting a duvet on us, whisper thank you while shivering my butt off. Awaken the next day feeling like absolute sugar honey iced tea, but who do we see coming over to us? Our mates we lost at the beach 3 miles away. Turns out they ended up walking around too and slept on the same deck chairs just across the pool from us. One lad comes up over completely naked, explaining that in his drunken logic, he thought the sprinklers might come on and he would be colder in his wet clothes than just his skivvies. So we're hanging out and dying, and then one mate just says, "Do you remember what you owe me?" And at this point, every one of us just yells, €6 and a beer.
Okay. First thing I want to point out to you, Faith.
Yes.
Did you see how they wandered 3 miles from where they're supposed to be, jumped the fence into another resort, passed out, and what did they do? They just somebody walked over and put a blanket on them. That's Portugal. That is Portugal. Okay, if you're in the U.S., you jump that fence, somebody may shoot you before you hit the ground.
Somebody's going to call the cops on you.
Yes, or 5-0's coming to get you.
Yeah.
The GNR, first off, the GNR is the police here. They probably, 11 o'clock, they're going home themselves. So they're not coming out. You don't even see, late at night, you don't even see the GNR at all. Zero. So that's one of the cool things about Portugal, because I think last year was the second safest country in the world. It's always one of the top 5 safest countries in the world. So there's not a lot of crime. They would stick out like sore thumbs because a lot of times when you see the partying going on, you don't even see a lot of really drunk people. That's just something you don't see. So these people probably saw them stumbling in and seeing them drunk, like, "Ooh, that doesn't happen that often. Let me throw on a blanket on my man here." The naked guy running around. That one's a little interesting. You can see naked people on the beach. That'd be no problem there. But naked people running around a resort, that would get, I would love to see. That I would love to see. I don't know what the hell people would react on that one. Just picturing this whole thing, I wish I was there. I hate to say this, you can tell they were Americans. Americans are loud. Americans, you can spot us from a mile away, and if you're wrong, you're just a little wrong, because the next thing you're gonna be like, "Are you American?" And they're gonna be like, "No, we're Canadians." But Americans are Canadians. They're just the same people now to me. They just should just combine American Canada together, because when I look at them now, you can so tell they're American. Just like everyone, when I walk around my town, everyone knows it's Tate. He's the American guy. Everyone knows. We're very noticeable. This is a funny story, but a great story, because I could picture a lot of this going on. Only thing I would have loved to have known is they were talking about the beaches. So were they most likely in the Algarve? Because that's where I live. That's the area I'm in. That's in the south. So that's where it's a lot more summery. I think these guys probably had a great time. I would probably ditch that dude that keep asking me for the $6. Listen, dude.
Listen, he needs that €6.
Well, how many people is in this group? He's probably, you think, what? You know what? I'm taking this back. Each person owes him $6, and let's say there's 5 guys. That's $30.
Says, and one of the part of the story, I head down there and 8 of the lads get into the beach, but we don't. So there's 10. There's 10 people.
Oh, hell no. You're talking about That's 6 times 8. No, that's a round trip ticket. You could fly to London and back on that one. That's a round trip ticket now, plus some snacks.
Yeah,
I want my cheddar.
And my beer.
And the beer probably costs more than the flight would, probably. No, I like this story because I was just picturing a group of Americans running around Portugal. Mm-hmm. They would stick out like a sore thumb, but they would have a blast. And I do understand. Think about that guy wanting his $6 because that would take you a long way in Portugal. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was kind of a cool story. What's your take on it?
Sounds like a fun trip. Every time I read stories of people going to different countries and, having a good time and drinking a lot, they always somehow wind up like this a little bit, and so I think it's funny. I have never done this. Anytime I have gone to a different country,
you never hear about the girl got drunk, passed out naked on a beach chair. It doesn't happen. Only us foolish guys do that stuff.
Because women are smart, and 2, drunk women.
A lot more dangerous running around naked, pass on the beach chair would be a little more dangerous as a woman, I guess.
But drunk women take care of other women. That's why you normally won't see a woman going to the bar by herself. She's always with a friend or something like that. We always take care of each other because
guys always hate the other girl. It's like
she's not going anywhere.
It's like, oh, we're hitting it off with Becky, and then Susie's like, nope. Becky's going nowhere. She's with us tonight. It's like, wait a minute. Things are going well with us.
No, you get her number.
Sorry.
You get her number.
Girls are notorious for that.
It's because we're taking care of each other.
It's always the one guy that's like, dude, okay, you got to go hit on her friend because she is not letting Becky come home with us. So you got to go hit on her friend. But if the friend, if the friend can get some attention, then everybody can come hang out. But yes, look at Faith shaking her head.
It's because we take care of our friends and make sure everybody's safe. That's why.
But it is a good thing because girls need to, girls learn that there's strength in a pack. So it is smart. Yep. But for guys are always like, dang, her friend just all, CB in me. You understand that? What I'm
yes,
saying,
I get that.
So,
I get it. Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we are going to close out the show for the day. Thank you so much for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow.
Fireball.
God.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great.